The following video was developed and produced by Title V HSI grant at Los Angeles Mission College, with funding provided by the U.S. Department of Education. Some of the following material can be found on AccuPlacerTest.com, collegeboard.com, and EnglishForEveryone.org. The AccuPlacer test is a test you must take before enrolling in your English courses. What most students do not realize is that the score they receive on the test determines which English classes they are placed in. Doing poorly on the AccuPlacer test can cause students to take remedial classes that they may not need. This is why it's important to take the test very seriously. There are a few things you need to know before you can go in for the test. First, the AccuPlacer test is computer adaptive. This means that the questions on the test are chosen for you on the basis of your answers to previous questions. This technique selects just the right questions for your ability level. Because the test is adaptive, you have to do your best on the initial questions. How you score on those first questions will determine the rest of the questions on your test. If you do well on the first few questions, the questions will get harder in order to gauge whether or not you can handle a higher level English course. The test isn't timed, so take as much time as you need to understand each question and double check your answers. Once you have selected an answer and want to proceed, click Next. The screen will then read, click OK to submit this answer. If you want to change your answer, click Cancel and make another selection. You should know that once you select an answer and move on to the next question, you cannot go back. Therefore, it is important to not leave any answers blank and to double check your answers before you move on to the next question. You cannot come back later to change your answer. Before the actual test begins, you'll be asked a series of background questions regarding your academic history, financial situation, and the various languages you speak. Even if English is not your first language, that does not mean that you're not as fluent as a native speaker. Although you may speak 2 languages, if most of your schooling was in English, choose English only. When in doubt, be confident in your abilities and consider choosing answers to the background questions that show your strengths as an English speaker. After the background information portion of the test, you'll be offered to take a tutorial of the test. This is a great way to familiarize yourself with the test without jeopardizing your score. Be sure to read the questions carefully along with the explanations that each answer provides. The tutorial can give you a feel of the thinking process that the test requires. Now that you are familiar with the test, let's look at some review strategies that could help you do your best on the test. The first technique is the process of elimination. Even if you have no idea what the answer to a question is, don't panic. There is a test-taking strategy that can help you. If you are unsure what the correct answer is, eliminate all other answers that you are certain are wrong. By using the process of elimination, your odds will be greater in getting the answer correct. If you can eliminate 2 of the 4 answers, then you will have a 50% chance of getting the answer correct. The second technique is to slow down. The test isn't timed, so slow down and take your time. How well you do on the test does not depend on how long it takes you to complete it. Instead, read each section thoroughly. Take time to double and triple check your answers. Always read the question, sentence, and answer choice carefully to help make sure that you have read every word. You can read aloud quietly to yourself because it may help you to hear the options aloud. You cannot go back, so be sure that you are certain before you move on. Also, make sure you are certain before you proceed to the next question. Because you cannot skip questions or return to them, be sure of your answer before you proceed to the next question. It is easy to get the answers wrong if you don't read the directions correctly. Some questions vary only by a few words, so reading them closely is very important. In the sentence skills section, certain directions are wordy and confusing. Not reading the directions carefully can result in an incorrect answer. Now that you have some test-taking strategies, let's review the actual content. The test is divided into 2 sections. One section focuses on sentence skills, while the other assesses your reading comprehension. Let's look at the first section. There are 20 questions from the sentence skills section. The section itself is divided into two parts: sentence correction and sentence construction. The directions in the sentence correction portion will ask that you select the best version of the underlined part of the sentence. The first choice is the same as the original sentence. If you think the original sentence is best, choose the first answer. These questions require an understanding of sentence structure. The test will ask you to choose the most appropriate word or phrase for the underlined portion of the sentence. Basically, which answer choice is most grammatically correct. The directions in the sentence construction portion will ask that you rewrite the sentence in your head following the directions given below. Keep in mind that your new sentence should be well written and should have essentially the same meaning as the original sentence. These questions can be confusing because they ask test takers to rewrite a sentence according to the criteria mentioned. The problem is that each question in this section has slightly different directions. The key thing to remember is that your newly created sentence should maintain essentially the same meaning as your original sentence, maintain the same verb tense as the original sentence, and be grammatically correct. The second section is reading comprehension. You will be given a short passage or sometimes even a few sentences which you will be asked questions on. This portion of the test measures your ability to understand what you read. The directions of the first part of reading comprehension portion ask that you read a statement or passage and then choose the best answer to the question based on what is stated or implied in the passage. Here are some examples of possible questions. The passage is mainly about, or from the passage we can conclude. Both questions test your understanding of the reading. Another type of reading comprehension question will state, for the questions that follow, two underlined sentences are followed by a question or statement. Read the sentences, then choose the best answer to the question or the best completion of the statement. For example, the question might ask, do the two sentences repeat the same idea? Does the second sentence show an effect of the first? Does the second sentence contradict the first? Does the second sentence draw a conclusion from the first? These reading comprehension questions are asking you to establish relations between main ideas. In our second video, we will give you examples of these questions for practice. We have now reached the end of our video. You can see how understanding the test is vital if you want to do your best. Just as a final reminder, please be sure to take advantage of the sample questions provided to you at the start of each section during the test. Please rewatch this video if you need extra look at review strategies, and be sure to watch our second video which focuses on actual test content and practice questions. Thank you for watching.